Good afternoon, everybody. This is Gail Macinda with History Quick. And as part of our unit study on Louis Prang, we're going to be talking about his term of the father of art education in America. In another part of our unit, we talked about him being the father of the American Christmas card. But today we're going to really focus on the art education. In developing his curriculum to teach kids about art, which is really what he wanted to do more than anything else, he developed a color wheel, a 6-color color wheel, so he could teach the relationship between colors. Now, this isn't my strongest ability, so I have the good fortune to bring in an expert, and that expert is Ellen and Eddy. Ellen is a fiber artist who has a work in the is a permanent exhibit in the National Museum. The National Quilt Museum in Paducah, Kentucky, and her work is just absolutely phenomenal. She's an author of many books. She has traveled extensively, giving workshops and seminars and recordings, and we are just delighted to have with us today Ellen and Eddy. I have seen her work in the pictures and in the photographs, but I'm here to tell you folks, when you see it in person, it is absolutely mind-blowing, and the vivid use of color. So we are so happy to have you here with us today so you can teach us a little bit about the relationship of colors one to another, and please enlighten us.
Thank you. Color is wonderful stuff. It's a wonderful toy. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the relationship of the colors to each other. And the relationship is largely about the color wheel. The color wheel maps it out for us. When we have colors that are far away from each other, the farther away they are from each other, the more tension there is. So when we have colors that are close to each other, they get along really well. They kind of smooth into each other. But when we have colors that are all the way from, I'm having trouble doing this left, right, uh, from there to there, all the way across the wheel from each other, those are called complementary colors. And they have the most amount of tension and the most amount of excitement. It's like watching a show where nothing happens. You know, it's so nice and quiet and everyone has a good time. And you're like, why did I watch this? You want to see something happen. You want somebody to throw a punch or scream or do something. So that's what complementary colors do. They scream a little, but it's really nice to see them do that. I have a quilt here that has a lot of really yummy blue and a little bit of orange, just a little bit caught in, I'm hunting for my little mask, the in the stitching. Well, what does that do? Well, we have our blue and orange, and those are complements, and here they are in my quilt. And what they do is they draw your eye and they spark energy and they spark information about the relationship between those things. So our colors talk to us and they give us good information. And what the color wheel says is how they're going to react with each other. They are going, if they're complements, they're going to be very exciting together. Now, I have another quilt here that has a different complement, and you can tell me what it is. There we are. It's red and green. And the red and green, we know are complements, and we can look at them on our wheel.
Now, your color wheel looks a little different than the one that Prang put together.
This is a color wheel by Itten, and Itten taught, oops, I'm one color wheel over there. Itten taught in Bauhaus, in the college there. And his color wheel has more colors on it. So what it does is it has colors that fill in the cracks. It isn't like there are only 6 colors. That's simplified. There are millions of colors, but these are the ones that are just sort of in between the cracks of that, and they have double names. So this is yellow green, and this is yellow orange, and this is red orange, and it's right in between red. And these colors are again in relationship. And because this color wheel has the bright colors right in the center of that, it has the dark colors coming out to the edge and the lighter colors coming into the center. And it kind of doesn't matter if you have light yellow and then you have really dark purple. It's still the same excitement of the complements. So either way, it's going to work for you. But we're going to really quick show you that red-green complement. And there it is. And that is what makes that quilt so exciting, is having, there I am, now I'm in the center, having that red and green just sort of yell at each other across the room. So our colors tell us, or rather explore different emotions, and we know what they're going to look like and how we're going to feel about them by where they are on the color wheel.
Now, I know when you make your quilts, and these are not what we would normally think about as quilts, quilts, like you'd put on a bed. Yours are tapestries and pieces of art, really, in a lot of ways. So when you are making these, I know you do a lot of dyeing of your own fabric. And I would imagine that you would choose some of the colors that you're going to use in the dyeing according to their position on the color wheel. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to say, let's say I have, or you're going to want something neutral. This quilt is neutral on the outside. We have gray and we have black, and those are neutrals. And then we have the red and green. And so I dyed for something to be a neutral color. But on this, when I was dyeing, I wanted colors that would smooth out around the edge of this. So I picked analogous colors, which on my wheel look like this whole range of colors there.
Oh, analogous. Now that's a new word that you've just sprung on us. What does that mean? They're next door neighbors on the wheel?
They're colors next to each other.
Okay.
And colors that are, I'm having trouble doing this backwards.
Yeah.
Next to each other are analogous, and they're smooth and they're connected, and they all belong to each other. So they make this really soft, lovely, yummy background. And when the blue is part of it, there's our blue. The blue is still a part of it. And there's our turquoisey blue too. So all of those colors are all connected. And then we have that little tinge of orange in there going, woo, which is really exciting and makes that frog dance around.
Okay, is that thread, is that the orange part? Is that done with thread on top of the blue? Is that how that works?
The whole frog is thread. The whole frog is made out of thread. And
That's amazing.
He's completely out of thread. The background is fabric. And so because I'm working with thread, I can put in little bits of things. So that little bit of orange goes a long, long way.
I understand that.
It keeps him from being too smooth and too bland and just boring. And if you're going to jump up and down as a frog, you can't be boring.
You know, I'm thinking about having seen your artwork close up and how you use thread like a artist with a paintbrush would use an individual stroke. Yes. Sometimes you think about the colors being added with blocks of fabric, like in a traditional quilt, but you really paint with thread. So that's where the thread magic comes from. Would that be?
Yes, that's what that was originally.
That is absolutely fantastic. Well, I tell you what, I am a big fan of your art. I love your use of color. I love these things that you do. And thank you so much for taking the time to share some of your expertise and some of your artwork with us. Hopefully we'll get to have this wonderful lady back with us again another time. But until we do, guys, remember, we learn from the past, but we don't live there. Go be awesome today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.